Page 330, and we're in the Rav Chaim Freelander, the very, very end of Siman Kuf Chaf Vav. We just got finished discussing Adam and Eve and the trees of life and knowledge, how they were created imperfect, even at that exalted state that they were created, where we said that their physical was like our spiritual, and they were on a totally different plane of existence, and the Garden of Eden was on a different plane of existence, that while it existed, it was a very, very lofty place, and even in that lofty state that they were at, they were still created imperfect. They still had a potential to perfect themselves, and unfortunately, they didn't do that, and they ate from the tree, and gave rise to more imperfection and to the world that we are in now. So we are continuing with that conversation in the end of Siman Kuf Chavav. Amar HaSeichel, says the intellect. I want to go back to the thing that we were discussing originally. God only made destruction possible for creations that are not complete, that are not perfect. But creations which are perfect are not subject to destruction. In the future, when the creation is complete, it will no longer be susceptible for destruction. This is a very interesting thing. In Olam Haba, in the end of days, after Mashiach comes, after the resurrection of the dead, and when we get our reward, there will be no more destruction. Everything will be perfect, and nobody will die, and no bad things will happen anymore. Now that what I want to explain to you now is Mahu hachisaron hazeh shel hashleimus hamolid habitul. What is this? We're saying that something which is not perfect can lead to destruction. What is this imperfection that could lead to destruction? And you'll see here a deep wisdom of how Hashem operates the world. And the lofty status with which the Jewish people find themselves. Amra Neshama, says the Neshama. Kvar ein kol tavasi el das hatvar mishleimus al borim. I only want to know, I have a desire to know everything you said very clearly. Davar v'todosov, and all the implications. Al kain, therefore, esmach ma'od b'yediyah zosha tadina. I'm very happy, I'll be very happy with this idea that you're about to share with me. Amar HaSeichel, says the intellect. Chalki abriya hazos, mi shemabed aleim lefi re'us einav, b'tchila lo yiram ela inyanim mufuzarim ufaradim. If you look around the world and you see the different parts of the world, things look like they are separate. Like they all have they don't do their own, every item in the world does its own thing. Perush, bilti miskashrim kulam el tachas achas. You don't look around the world, and it does not appear on the surface when you look around the world that everything has the same purpose. Each item in the world has its own purpose. A specific purpose. Nishlam ba'atzmo, and it completes that purpose on its own. Built without needing anything else, without needing its friend. You look at things like rocks. Rocks have their purpose. They do whatever rocks do. You have plants. Plants do whatever plants do. And you have animals and humans, and they do whatever they do. It appears that they have no connection with each other, that they would need each other for a supreme purpose. And when they come together with one purpose, it appears that everything was created for what it was created for. And God created a deer to do whatever a deer does. On the way here this morning, I found a deer that was no longer alive, and what birds are those that go in through the back end? The vultures went in through the back end. So the deer did what it had to do. It ate grass its whole life, and the vulture came and did what it had to do to finish off the deer. Very nice. That's all it's here for. Im kol zeh ha'adraga ha'mesudares nires b'chol ha'teva v'adai v'chol meshiyikach b'yado lehizbonim mitzius ha'nimtzoim ha'kol b'adraga k'shiyaschu mishmei ha'shamayim v'yer ad ha'aretz mitachas v'hizbonim b'chol ha'minim yimatzim kulam zeh tachaseh b'adraga mesudares al nachon. However, when you look at all these things that are in the world, when you think about it, you see that it's clear though they were created at different levels. Different levels. Certain things were created at a higher level, certain things were created at a lower level, but Hashem arranged them in different things. Right? Animal seems to be at a higher level than a rock. A rock doesn't move, doesn't do anything, but an animal jumps around, does certain things. But when you look into it more deeply, this initial outlook that you would have looking at the world, thinking that every being and every animal and every plant and rock and everything has a separate purpose, that's not true. We have to realize that everything is connected and everything really has the same purpose. They all need to complete the reason that God created the world. They all come together for one purpose. And those conditions and the different levels they're on are very deep. With all the parts of the creation. They're all connected to each other. Which the high, really Hashem's wisdom wanted them to be. And through them, through all of them, the good result, the good fruit will come out from the creation. And this I already told you, Amaku is very deep. Hashem's wisdom has no bounds. That each thing in the creation has a certain mission. Every item in creation has a certain purpose, and that purpose is really just, or I should say one job. Everything in creation has one job, and when they all do that one job, they're all connected, and that goes to reach a certain purpose, a collective purpose, let's call it. A collective purpose. So what is this purpose? What is this purpose that everything in creation has? Razal Amru. Here's the kicker. And Chazal say, the rabbis say, Kol ma shebara Kadosh Baruch Hu, everything that God created ba'olam in His world, lo bara ela lichvodo, was only created for the honor of Hashem. Everything in the world, from the rock to the deer to the animals, the plants, and us, everything is just created for Hashem's glory. Now we're going to obviously describe what that means. Lo bara ela lichvodo. Amnam, tzarich lahav an inyan hakavod. We need to understand this topic of Hashem's glory. Shegam hu mechudesh etzli yisbarach kechol shar hata'arim. This thing, when we say the honor of Hashem, this is also something that is new, like all the other things that we call Hashem. Ukamosha amarti lach lamal, like I told you earlier. So this means is that when we talk about Hashem's honor, we don't talk about honoring Hashem's honor like a human being. We talk about His honor. In fact, when we actually don't describe the essence of God at all. When we say Hashem is merciful, let's say, we're not saying that Hashem in His essence is merciful. The essence of Hashem we do not understand at all. We don't understand anything about the essence of Hashem. We only understand how Hashem interacts with the world. He interacts with the world with mercy. He brought a new way to interact with the world called mercy. But when we talk about Hashem's mercy, we are not talking about His essence as being merciful. His essence is beyond our comprehension. When you talk about a human, you could say a human king is merciful. We're talking about the human king's essence. He is merciful. But when it comes to Hashem, we don't describe Him like that. So when we talk about Hashem's honor, we're not describing the essence of Hashem. We're just talking of a certain relationship He has with the world. When you understand this, we can understand how each being in the world completes its purpose for this honor. How they're all needed for this. And they all come together for this purpose. We only need to know right now one thing for this introduction. All of the creation is connected and they come together for this purpose. For one purpose. That shleimus, completeness, is not reached when each being does its thing independently of the other thing. But only when they do it together, like we mentioned. Because this, for sure, is the completeness of everything. Kevan shezehu hamitzdarich yosel tachlis shabuvur onivru shuvatachlis haklali shezacharnu. Because this is what the purpose that Hashem created everything for. So we said that in the world to come, everything is going to be perfect. And we said that everything in this world was created and was connected to reach one goal. And what is that one goal? The one goal is to reach the honor of Hashem. We say Mashiach is going to come. We just said in Aleinu that the Mashiach is going to come when the whole world recognizes that Hashem is one. When the whole world comes together to worship Hashem, because everything was created for His honor. That's something now that we're going to talk about the Jewish people later, but that's something that the Jewish people at the giving of the Torah was given that special mission, that we know that we're supposed to live. The only purpose of existence is to live for the honor of Hashem, to serve Hashem. So when the entire world realizes that, that's when Mashiach is going to come, and that's what we say at the end of Aleinu. So what the Ramchal is saying here is that really everything in the world that exists, not just the Jewish people, not just human beings, but everything, the animals, the vegetation and rocks, everything, the whole creation was just here to bring honor to Hashem. And when that happens, that's when completeness is going to be fulfilled. And once we have that completeness, then there is no longer going to be any destruction, because destruction could only happen when things are imperfect or incomplete. Right now the world is incomplete, but when the world becomes complete, there will be no destruction or imperfection anymore. And so next week we'll read, he's going to go discuss more about this idea of everything being created for the honor of Hashem and other things on that topic. But so far, just now, he always talks about it more general and then gets more specific.